So you're interested in a wide variety of things: drama, law, writing, and politics. But which is that one thing that you're actually most passionate about?
Gosh, that's a very difficult question. I think I'm passionate about life, and everything that you've described is each thing is a dimension of life. I'm passionate about life, and I'm passionate about living it in a wholesome manner with lots of good friends, lots of good things, interesting things to do, including having pets, a lot of pets, lots of good books, and somewhere along the line to be a successful intellectual, which is not easy. It's tough. It's a very competitive world about people who have good minds. So that's it. Like, my idea of completeness is to have a whole lot of things to do in life and to be able to do them all.
So among those tough times of politics and law, you say you still find time to actually give it to yourself, maybe make friends, maybe read a book, or maybe play with your pets?
Yes, I do, and I try to include people in whatever I'm doing. I have friends around me all the time. I have visitors around me all the time, but I don't treat them as a separate part of life. I let them intermingle with whatever else I'm doing. Enjoy it if they want to, if they can. Just watch if they want to keep aloof. Yes, it's a bit taxing on one's energy and one's stamina, but it's a matter of passion. If you have passion, you can do it. There are things that I've enjoyed when I was young. I enjoyed playing cricket. I can't find time for it now. Can't play it anymore. I never took to golf. So if you play golf, it takes a lot of your time. So therefore, I do things that I like.
Okay. So moving on into your personal life, from the very beginning, who has been your influence? Because we know how your father made into politics, your grandfather made it into politics. So which is that one person in your family who you are inspired by, who you look up to?
See, my grandfather, Dr. Zakir Hussain, I was very young when he was president. I was still at school. In fact, when he died on the 3rd of May 1969, I was playing a cricket match and I was called away from school to be given that news. So I was still very, very young to be able to learn too much from him, but I've imbibed a sense of goodness from him, what it means to be good. I mean, I've met a lot of very, very intelligent and very remarkable people in Oxford when I was at Oxford, and I admire them immensely. Some of the professors, Professor Dworkin, who passed away 2 years ago, was a great inspiration for me as a jurisprudence person. But the idea of a good human being, I imbibed from my grandfather. And for me, he has become the test of goodness in anything that I do. But of course, I admired Pandit Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru enormously. I was greatly impressed in later life by the struggle of Nelson Mandela, and because my grandfather had essentially a Gandhian view of life, I picked up the idea of Gandhi very early in life, and although we live in very different circumstances, but I do hope somewhere, if you look carefully, you may find a Gandhian touch about how I think, how I act, and how I perceive the world.
Okay. So you started your political career in 1981 as an officer on special duty in Miss Indira Gandhi's office. So what are the duties that you had that time, and what is that post? We youngsters are not really familiar with that post. So a short brief note if you can give on how you started your career.
Yes, I often say that an OSD, officer on special duty, can be of two kinds in Government of India. One is somebody you really want, but you can't fit him into the standard structure, so you call him an OSD, and I add in brackets wanted. And somebody that you just want to get rid of but can't get rid of and won't want, you again make an OSD with nothing to do, and I called such an OSD unwanted. So I was in the first category. I was at Oxford. I was teaching at Oxford when my late friend Dr. Sen Gupta, who was working in the Prime Minister's office, suggested to the Prime Minister Indiraji that I could be brought here as a member of the Prime Minister's team. So I was virtually summoned from Oxford, and then of course you have to fit into a slot wherever you are. So I was fitted into the slot of looking after appointments of judges, because I guess I had a legal background. I was given the duty of writing international speeches of the Prime Minister, which was quite a fascinating task, and I had to look after a little bit of coordination work with the media people and so on. Of course, there was a formal person who looked after media. Mr. U.C. Tiwari was there, but that's the job that I had, and a little bit of just coordination with various groups that wanted to meet with the Prime Minister. I worked with Indiraji, but I didn't really work with Rajiv ji. In fact, when though my appointment to the Prime Minister's office at the time of Indiraji was kind of very generously endorsed by Rajiv ji as well, and he was the first person to whom I went when I came back to India to ask if I really should be joining, and I must say that he was so warm and generous and said it would be such a great idea that I would join, and I did join. I was quite happy about that. Working with Indiraji was fantastic. I mean, she was at the height of her career. She was larger than life figure both in India and the world. She was very, very, very kind and gentle in working with people. She was just wonderful, and in a sense, a great inspiration, because to see someone who was so effective as a leader, and to be able to see that person at close quarters, to work with them in terms of giving them speeches, etc., it was just wonderful.
So, but eventually in 1984, she succumbed to the Sikhs. She was killed. So, but how did her death affect you?
I was not anymore in the Prime Minister's office, because I worked in the Prime Minister's office for about a year. My real passion was to get into law, so with great sheepishness, I went up and I said, you know, I've worked here and been a great honor, but I don't want a civil servant's career. I want to get back into law, and I haven't practiced at all because I was a teacher of law. So if you permit me, I will go and join law. So I'd actually joined law by then already. I was practicing in the Supreme Court. I was in a chamber in which some very interesting people had been, Mr. R.K. Garg, Mr. Dilkishore Singh, Dilkishore Pratap Singh, D.P. Singh, who was a very, very gentle soul. There were people in that chamber like Tarun Gogoi, there was Margaret Alva, there was Eduardo Filero, and there were people who went on to become Supreme Court judges. So that chamber is where I started, and I was in law when this terrible thing happened, the assassination of Indiraji happened. I was at that time already in practice, and as a private citizen rather than as an official of government. And it was a shattering blow for all of us. But before that, the riots in 1984 had been a very tragic experience. My father was in government at that time, and I saw things from close quarters, and it left me very, very helpless and very sad.
So you started right at the Supreme Court level. A lawyer starts at the state, means at the tribunal, then goes to the high, and then manages to make its way to the Supreme. So you started actually in the Supreme Court. So how did you manage to actually put your first foot in Supreme Court?
Well, I mean, some people do start at the Supreme Court, but they start with some senior lawyer and they just follow him around. I was kind of I had a strange hybrid existence. I was working with senior lawyers, but I was taking some cases on my own and trying to argue. And it's always an advantage to be able to make a break right in your young days in the Supreme Court. But it's also a disadvantage because you've not been through the various stages of the legal system. So many of the things that you pick up, information, knowledge, abilities, and capacities that you pick up as you go up the ladder, you miss out on, and therefore you have to teach yourself something that you would not have experience about. But in the end, it's pleasurable and it's enjoyable, and I am happy that I came to the Supreme Court.
So, in your 1-year tenure in the PMO, which is that one experience that you will always cherish? Which is your most memorable experience with Miss Indira Gandhi?
I have some, with Indira Ji, I have some fond memories. When I was inducted into the government by her, we were called, I was called for a dinner all by myself at the Prime Minister's residence. She was there, and a very young Mr. Rajiv Gandhi and Srimati Sonia Gandhi were there. Just three, not the children, but just the three of them. And I was completely tongue-tied and nervous, and to be there and trying to make some sense of what you're trying to say, etc. It was quite an experience. But I mean, I didn't really work so closely that I would have an experience or some new thing that happened every day. We were there I was there when the Antule incident happened in Maharashtra, and he had to resign as chief minister, and that the Indira Pratishthan issue came up. And so we vigorously showed how much we could do. You can't do very much from the inside, but to make sure that the paperwork and handling of the media is done. So all that I remember very fondly. But then I went up to her one day and I said, some people want to just meet you, and it's very difficult for a public figure to meet people of a particular kind, like judges. Right, because there is obviously a sense that judges must stay away from high office and from people in public office, etc.
Judiciary must stay away from the hierarchy.
Yes, but on the other hand, if you admire a person and there's a personal admiration, there should be a way in which you can meet. And therefore, let me just share this with you that I drove a very important judge in the car alone at night. Night meaning late evening, and I took him to meet with Mrs. Gandhi, and then I of course wasn't inside the room, so I don't know what they talked about, but just creating this connectivity, and for her to be willing to give me the chance was wonderful.
So coming on to present politics, so do you think the UPA has made blunders? The 2 terms of UPA have made some blunders, because of which they could not come into power again, both at the state level and at the national level.
You might say that there were things that we didn't get right. I don't think that there were any specific mistakes that we made, but whatever you do and decisions you take has a context. There's a context of time, place, situation, conditions prevailing. And sometimes you're out of sync with that, and you do something which might at another time have been right, but at that time turns out to be wrong.
But so you went on to say, and I quote, "The Aam Aadmi Party launching an effective campaign in Delhi forced the UPA to make unforced errors." So what was the errors you were talking about there?
So the error is to appear as though you're against public opinion, right? Instead of going with public opinion. They created false public opinion in this country. They may have legitimate reasons for doing so. I don't say that, but it was a false public opinion, and we were somehow forced into taking a position that appeared like we were opposed to public opinion. And then in that very difficult situation, against the wall, we became incapable of communicating. And I've always said politics is about storytelling. We forgot the art of storytelling, and he told a better tale than us, and therefore he had more listeners and more people going to him, and we lost our audience.
So, sir, do you think you also had a he in your party? Do you think that your party lacked leadership, that because of which you lost both elections, specifically being Delhi and the state and the national?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult to pinpoint any one reason for loss of elections. People lose and then people bounce back and win. Indiraji lost and then came back 18 months later. I've lost my own election and I've been back. The same constituency, same people, same place, and yet something changes and you win. And when you think that you should win again, something changes and you lose. So all this is post facto rationalization, that you didn't have a leader, you didn't have this, you didn't have that. I think times are the main thing that you have to be careful about.
So speaking about you won in the 2009 elections from Farrukhabad by a whooping margin of 1,69,550 votes, 51 votes. But you lost the very next election. You lost the 2014 election. So what do you think again went wrong? So you think it was the Congress because of which you lost, or do you think that it was you who probably didn't campaign?
No, I can't say that I lost because my party didn't help me win. My party was obviously under tremendous stress. Undoubtedly, there was a huge wave of contrary opinion in the country. But some people withstood that wave, and I must congratulate and applaud them. They did, but not in UP. All of us lost. So I would have felt very self-conscious if somebody else had won. There were colleagues of mine who had won the previous election by over 4 lakh votes,
okay,
and who lost this time,
okay,
as I did. So there are a whole host of reasons, but I think generally there was a huge wave against us. I think I did everything that was physically possible for somebody to do who had a job to do in government and also to look after constituency. But if my constituents think that I lost because I didn't do enough, I'm happy to accept.
No, sir, but
that
when we
judgment.
see at the general level, it is an icon that you vote for. In BJP, it being Mr. Modi, and there was a general notion that in Congress it would be Mr. Gandhi. So at the state level, it's easier to say that you have MLAs who will probably look after you, but at the national level, it's actually an icon who you vote for. So, but your party, as you said right now, lacked the mass appeal. So, do you think that was the reason because of which all of you in Uttar Pradesh lost?
No, I don't think this is the right way to look at it. It's as I said, it's a bouquet of factors that go into a defeat or a victory. Bouquet of factors, and the big rose there is your leader, and you want your leader to be a big rose. But leaders can't alone win you elections. Even when the public perception is that the leader has won you an election, there is a team that integrates very closely with the leader. But the credit has to go to the leader, of course. Now people say, if the leader gets credit for winning, why does the leader not get discredit for losing? Well, the answer is, you can give discredit to the leader, but what purpose does it serve? I mean, unless you have a British system where a losing leader retires and a new leader comes. We are not like that. We are, in every party in this country, there are much greater permanence of leadership than there is in Europe, for instance, and so on. There is much greater flexibility there and much greater revolving or change of leadership. But it's different. India, we are much more static at every level. It's not just at the level of top leadership,
okay,
but at every level. So I just think that this is an idle talk to say that your leaders to get the discredit, etc. And I think the leaders also know when they win that the entire credit doesn't go to them. It also has a lot to do with the team that they have picked, and the whole team contributes to the victory.
So do you think the BJP in 2014 took away the victory because they actually declared a leader that would become the Prime Minister, and that is where the Congress lagged by not declaring the leader? Because when during the Atal Bihari Vajpayee rule, that is what we see happen. The Congress did not have a prominent leader, and even in 2014 we see that the Congress does not actually give the name of the Prime Minister.
We defeated Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government.
in the next election. But
Yeah.
what I mean to say is that, do you think that Congress should declare the leader's name
Well,
before?
I think it's so obvious that we have a leader in Mr. Rahul Gandhi. It's so obvious that whether we declare it or not declare it, that he is our leader, that he will lead us from the front, and if and when we win, that he will then lead us in government. I mean, it goes without saying, but how this is to be articulated, how this is to be announced, how this is to be projected, we really wait for him to do it. And therefore we would be guided by him as our leader to say this is how we present it.
So in 2014, you mean to say if you won the elections, Mr. Rahul Gandhi would be the Prime Minister?
I'm quite certain it would have been so.
Sir, speaking ultimately on the Attorney General's death, Godam Vanhavati, on the 2nd September 2014, you said, and I quote, he died because of the psychological assaults that he suffered during the UPA 2 reign. You also went on to add that he was pushed to the wall and made self-conscious repeatedly because of the 2G scam. Do you hold your party responsible somewhere?
No, I mean he was the Attorney General, and Attorney General is your advisor and your protector in government. He gives you the advice to do what you have to do, and then when you've done it, if someone attacks you for it, he's supposed to protect you. Now, unfortunately, there were personal attacks on him. Right now,
those personal attacks were made by the Congress?
By the opposition.
Okay.
It were made by the opposition, and the personal attacks on him made him self-conscious. So, does your protector have capacity to protect you if he has to start protecting himself?
Okay.
Right? And therefore, I thought that we should have defended. I, as law minister, tried my best to protect him and defend him as much as I could. But not everybody, I guess, was able to do that. And it was very sad. He was one of our finest minds, one of our finest people. And really we've become impoverished because of losing him.
So what is that one incident in the course of history, as we see, what is that one incident you believe changed the course of history of India? You think it was the emergency, Operation Blue Star, the death of Indira Gandhi, the 1984 riots, the death of Rajiv Gandhi, or 26/11?
I mean, it's very difficult to choose from one or the other, but I think the untimely death of Mr. Rajiv Gandhi made a big difference, because I think it was never going to be the same again by losing a promising young leader of that kind. And I think those who knew him closely would tell you that he had a remarkable sense about the kind of country we should have been, we could have been, but we didn't. And we've just become a fractured and cantankerous and divided country because we lost a man in whom everybody had hoped would see a uniter and a person who would bring peace and prosperity and happiness to everyone.
So you appeared in the defense of the Student Islamic Group, which is a banned organization in India because of its terrorist activities and links. So why did you do that? So it was a banned organization.
I'm not quite sure that they have ever been accused successfully of terrorism, and I didn't appear for them in any criminal case. Okay. I appeared for them in a constitutional matter on the ban itself, whether the ban was correct or it had some flaws. I appeared in that matter, and we lost that matter, or they lost that matter. But I think our constitution and our system allows people to seek assistance of lawyers to present to court a case that they feel is a legitimate case, and not every case is one. If you judge them before you go to court, then you're not talking about rule of law, then you're talking about rule of people.
But so you went on to say that you will not reject any case unless you personally are discontented. So you thought that it was on ethical grounds and you were personally contented with what they have to say, and you were satisfied.
They were only saying don't ban us. They were not. I was not even. You even defend a murderer. You don't defend a murderer because you think he's done the right thing. You defend a murderer because you say that by the law of the land, is he to be punished? Or by the law of the land, are we to conclude that he has murdered? You don't pass moral judgment on a murderer. And that's the lawyer system. Now, if you don't believe in this, then you only believe in lawyers appearing only for what is right. But then what are the courts there for? Because the courts have to decide what is right, what is wrong, not the lawyers. But there are some things that may be completely unacceptable.
Okay.
Completely unacceptable. In that case also you may appear for the person, but not be prepared to argue that what that person has done is commendable or right.
So you mean to say that the ban on them is not acceptable?
It wasn't. If the government says this is acceptable, and the court says no, then we have to accept what the court says. But when you go to court and the court says no, the ban is correct, then you have to accept what the court has said.
Okay. So in India today, since you've been so closely associated with the judicial system, we see how it is all the cases are actually prolonged. Take it to be Abdul Qasab, it took 5 years for the government to actually penalize him when it was clear about his actions were wrong. So do you think that the government is playing with the taxpayers' money, because eventually when he was in jail, he was feeded, his security was on our taxpayers' money. So do you think that the probes should actually get narrowed in the course of judiciary?
Of course they should, but the problem is of the burden of the number of cases. How do you decide? Government takes time to decide things. Courts take time to decide things. There aren't enough courts. There aren't enough judges. So if something takes time, it takes time. Ordinary cases take up to 20 years, 25 years. Every judge, every senior chief justice has always said, this is terrible. We must be able to decide cases within 2 years, within 3 years, but it doesn't happen. There's a huge backlog of cases. So this is only about, it's like saying you think there should be no traffic on the roads. So you have odd and even number, so the traffic will be reduced. These are only temporary things that you can do. These are not perfect solutions. You have to find the perfect solution, and the perfect solution is better management, better vehicles, better public transport system, better circulation system as far as roads are concerned. Similarly, in law, in the courts you have to find a more effective manner in which the laws have to be streamlined, in which you have to have better facilities available so that quick judgments can be given. You should have more judges, you should have better trained lawyers. Now we are gradually moving towards that, but it'll take time.
So you say we are gradually moving towards that, but from the time the Congress took over the UPA 1 and UPA 2, actually the rate of becoming lawyers and judges declined as to what Mr. Vajpayee had done. And on the adverse, so there was hardly any courts made in the UPA 1 and 2 range.
I'm not sure that this is correct information. I'm not sure that this is correct information.
So during Atal Bihari Vajpayee's time, the promotion was around 16.8%, which dropped to 14.3% during the UPA 1 range.
16.4% of what?
Promotion from lawyers to judges.
You mean the appointment of judges?
Yes,
appointment of judges.
Because you said the appointment of judges.
You're only talking about High Court judges.
Okay.
You're not talking about judges as a whole. Judges as a whole in our time, I'm quite certain, had moved up enormously. We opened up new courts, we gave them new grids, we provided more systems, a huge computerization was done in our time. And I don't think that anybody can seriously argue that during the 10 years of the UPA 2 that we were lacking in additional facilities as far as the judicial system was concerned. Some of the top tribunals were set up during our time, and they're doing some very good work. Of course, we need to improve more, but I don't think that the statistics that you're quoting are correct.
Okay, so coming on to the judicial system again, so your party leader said the Batla House encounter is actually a fake encounter. But when the encounter happened, she went on to say that you will have a thorough investigation on it, and she had literally tears in her eyes. So do you personally think that the Batla House encounter in Delhi was a fake encounter?
I don't know.
So, and in today's...
I don't know. How can you ask me if it's fake encounter if I was not there? But nobody has shown me an investigation of the Batla House encounter that I could say is satisfactory. All we have is one trial court judgment which is now under appeal. So shall I, instead of the courts passing judgment, shall I pass judgment? I still feel, many of my colleagues had felt that there should have been a judicial inquiry, and that inquiry would have given us the truth. If it was an encounter or not an encounter, we would have got the truth.
But sir, the Batla House encounter happened with Mr. Sharma, the late Mr. Sharma, who passed away in the encounter, as well in hands with the Commissioner of the state. So, but do you think that that was not enough when the police takes an action because there are terrorists?
Nothing to do with, it's not for me to say enough. What is the system in our country? If there is an unnatural death, you have to have an investigation.
Okay.
And that investigation must be transparent, and it must be upright, and must be fair. Such an investigation in special circumstances is given to judges to handle. Special magistrates or judges or special inquiry commissions are set up. Why was an exception made for Batla House is all we asked.
Okay.
In fact, for public opinion, it would have been better if there was a judicial inquiry, and that judicial inquiry laid everything bare and made everything transparently available to the public. Then there would have been no speculation. There would not have been a sense that something... See, even in the Ishrat Jahan case, there was an investigation by a magistrate, there was an investigation by the High Court, and despite the fact that the High Court said there must be now a prosecution, to this day people are still trying to confuse the whole issue about Ishrat Jahan, saying that somebody is supporting terrorists, somebody is supporting... Whether you're a terrorist or you're a criminal or you're a worst kind of person, the law of the land is that you must have a trial before you are executed.
So the Batla House encounter was actually not transparent, and it was more oblique than transparent.
I think it wasn't transparent at all, and I think it's disgraceful that it wasn't transparent. It should have been transparent, and maybe there would be no scope for speculation if it was transparent, and some authority, some person who was respected in society, like a High Court judge or a retired Supreme Court judge, could have held an inquiry within 2 months or 3 months. He could have given the truth to everyone.
Okay. So, when you took over as the external minister, you said, and I quote, "The BJP has created a merry stink over the issue of Pakistan." So, where do you think that the BJP had gone wrong previously over the issue of Pakistan?
BJP is wrong like nothing can be wrong. They didn't let us reach out to Pakistan to try and see if there's a possibility of peace with Pakistan. They just wouldn't let us. They didn't allow the Prime Minister to travel to Pakistan.
So, but Mr. Manmohan Singh actually met the then Prime Minister of Pakistan several of times, and there was no actually concrete peace talks that happened.
There wasn't, because Pakistan would not be able to talk to us if our own people were not willing to let us talk to them.
But Mr. Manmohan Singh met the Prime Minister.
Meeting is inevitable. You have to meet, because if you're in the same place, you say hello to each other, you have a cup of coffee. But the point is, can you really sit down and talk when there was some hope that we would be able to talk in Sharm el-Sheikh? Look at the noise that the BJP made here. And then BJP goes and does the same thing itself. It now wants to go and talk to Pakistan. Now it wants to go and make friends with Pakistan. And they get rebuked, they get repudiated by Pakistan attacking, or people from Pakistan attacking Pathankot. And there has no answer by the BJP. No answer whatsoever.
So, during the 26/11, since you are talking about Pakistan, during the 26/11, the National Investigation Head, Mr. M.K. Narayan, continuously warned your government that there was going to be such an attack, but there was nothing concrete that your government did.
And what did the new government do in Pathankot? They were told by Pakistan that there's an attack coming.
So, but that doesn't mean if the new government does nothing.
I know, but that's past, no? We are talking about today.
So, even Pathankot is passed.
So, Pathankot is not passed, it's here now, it's going on. Sorry, Pathankot is not passed. We are still asking Pakistan to give us those people who organized Pathankot.
So, what did you mean in 26/11, Mr. Manmohan Singh did not do enough to actually try and prosecute Pakistan, or try to
what is the present government doing?
So, just because the present government is doing something bad.
See, let's then go back to the time of the Ramayana and see whether everybody did everything. You can't keep looking back at history. We have accounted for what good we did. We have accounted for what bad we did. Where we were unsuccessful, judgment has been passed on us. Let's talk about what's happening today. Let's not talk about what happened yesterday.
So, Rajnath Singh said, and I quote with Mr. Arnab Goswami, that there is a red line and they are just waiting for the red line to happen, unquote. So, I believe that...
Which is the red line?
So
they come and attack an Air Force station in India, and no red line is drawn.
So, but I believe that the present government still has a lot of time, because it is just, I think,
So
3 or 4 months.
They want the red lines at election time, not before.
So, but even in the election time, the UPA did not do enough to actually.
Because we don't believe in winning elections on the basis of red lines.
So
We believe in winning elections on honesty. Not saying that I've got a 56-inch chest and then go and embrace the Pakistani Prime Minister and get nothing. Have we got peace at all in 2 years? Have we? The answer is no. We haven't got any peace. Now to say that you didn't do anything is not the answer. Okay, I accept we didn't do anything. What about you?
I understand, sir, but my question to you is, somewhere down the line, do you think that many of the blunders that the UPA 1 and UPA 2 did?
I'm not accepting that we did blunders.
So you said.
I'm not accepting. I didn't say. I just said we didn't read the mood in the right way to be able to present our case in the right manner. It's not blunders. I'm not accepting blunders. I'm just saying we didn't effectively communicate what we were doing. And if you do not effectively communicate, then you suffer. And we've suffered.
Okay, so my question was that somewhere down the line, do you think that 2611 was a misery for the Congress government, and somewhere down the line the people were not satisfied by what happened? And I know the present government has not done enough.
We won after 2611.
So after 2611?
After 2611 we won.
I know, so on 2009 you won.
Yes.
But so my question is that somewhere do you think that 2611 was the reason, because people remember, right, such a big attack happened, we have not forgotten 9/11 till date. So do you think somewhere down the line?
Have we forgotten Kandahar?
No, sir, I have not forgotten Kandahar.
No, see, we are not talking about Kandahar because it happened, it's in the past. Then we moved on. Then 2611 happened, we moved on. We learned something. From Kandahar we learned something, 2611 we've learned something, from Pathankot we've learned something. There are no easy answers, no solutions. Mr. Modi, when he was campaigning to become Prime Minister, gave this country an impression that it's only a matter of 5 days. We can go and fix Pakistan anytime we like. But he hasn't fixed Pakistan. And we must not forget that we are living in a dangerous world.
Yes, sir.
It's not just Pakistan. Today we are living in a world when there is ISIS, we are living in a world where there is Daesh, we are living in a world when there is Boko Haram, we are living in a world when there are nuclear weapons all around us. This kind of childish talk within the country that I can fix anyone, I can go and hurt anyone, doesn't work. That's not serious politics.
So, in one of the press conferences, the senior Pakistan nuclear scientist went on to say that they actually have a nuclear weapon which is fixed towards Delhi. So, somewhere down the line.
There must be. And we must have weapons that are fixed towards Lahore.
So, but the Pakistan has never in the UN declared that they possess independent nuclear missiles. All they have said is they possess 13 nuclear missiles, which is in collaboration with the NATO's. But so this is something that was unheard of.
No. See, no country declares that it has missiles. We don't declare that we have missiles. But we know all our nuclear arsenal is not publicly known. It is confidential. It's secret. Now, how much is secret, how much is known? It's for experts to work it out.
Okay.
But somebody saying I have a missile and you believe it, and somebody saying I don't have a missile and you believe it, that's not the way international politics runs.
So today, do you think the BJP is taking the necessary steps towards Pakistan in a general aspect and in foreign relations, to be more specific?
I personally think that the biggest failure of the BJP today is in foreign relations.
But Mr. Modi has travelled the wide range of countries.
Absolutely. He's done a fantastic job energetically travelling all over the world, but he's brought home nothing. No goodwill has come to India. No investment has come to India.
So, but Mr. Modi signed the investment of a fast train, the bullet train, to call it, with Japan. And
who negotiated it?
So the Congress started it.
So he's signing on everything that we've negotiated. He's only signing on things that we've negotiated. Let him start with something that he thought of himself and that he negotiates and completes.
Coming on to a lighter part, so in today's politics, do you think that it is a good venture for youngsters? Do you think that the youngsters should take up politics as a profession?
Well, I'm in two minds about that. I think politics can be and should be a noble profession. I think there is nothing finer than to lead the people of your country towards an enlightened destiny. But it's tough. The political culture in India is tough. The political ambience is tough. Young people become successful professionals and then take to politics is probably much better. But if you go to politics too early and don't make a professional career for yourself and become totally dependent on the uncertainty of politics, I think it's not a great life.
So amongst your Congress party, who do you think is that one leader that you think will become the Prime Minister in the future day?
I have no option. I have emotional, political, spiritual and moral commitment that our Prime Minister will be Mr. Rahul Gandhi.
Okay. So do you think in 2019 Congress will come back? Do you think there is a chance to defeat Mr. Modi?
We must come back, is what I will say. Too early for me to say we will come back, but we must come back. I think for the sake of this nation, we must come back.
So when you were young, you strived for something. So today, do you think you've achieved that something? Do you think you've achieved what you've strived for over the years?
I achieved a lot. I have achieved a lot, but the day I think that I need to do nothing more and achieve nothing more, I will start getting old, or the vice versa. No, I think there's still a lot to do, a lot of good books to write, a lot of places to visit, a lot of cases to fight, and hopefully more elections to win.
So does your personal life somewhere get affected by your political and judicial life?
Well, I'm talking to you at a time that I should be with my family. But my family is very understanding. My 3 sons are very accommodative. They've looked after themselves. They haven't done anything that I would feel let down about. My sisters, my wife, don't have parents anymore, but my sisters and my wife are very caring, very understanding, and are wonderful people. But yes, it is a sacrifice. It's a great sacrifice to be in public life, to be in an active legal practice. It is a little tough on family life.
So today, my last question to you is: are you happy?
Funnily enough, the answer is yes. But you may ask why. There are good things happening. I mean, my practice is doing well. You spent so much time with me today. You saw how people just kept coming in. So it's keeping me busy. Judges listen to me carefully. That's rewarding. There's a sense of achievement. But there's a loss. I lost my election. I lost it very badly. I don't know what to do, of how to rebuild that constituency. It's a tough constituency. UP for us is a very tough terrain. And that makes me sad sometimes, makes me feel bad. But then I ask myself as I look back and I say, I've done it all. I've been a lecturer at Oxford, I've worked with the Prime Minister of India, I've played in the grounds of Rashtrapati Bhavan, I've led Delhi schools in cricket matches. I have been head boy of my school. I was president of my association of old students. I was the president of all the schools in DPS. I'm an honorary fellow of my old college in Oxford. I've been law minister, foreign minister. I've been general secretary of the Congress party. I've been president of UPCC. What more can one ask for? I've had a lot. I've enjoyed it. Try to do all of it well. Some of it perhaps was done better. Some of it was not done that well. But as I said, you have to keep trying.